Ever felt like your world was just a little too gray, a little too quiet? It's easy to get lost in the noise of our daily lives, to feel like we're just one small person in a giant, overwhelming world. We scroll through our feeds, see grand gestures, big events, and think, what can I possibly do that would even matter? Well, I want to share a simple story with you today. It's not about changing the entire world in one fell swoop. It's about something much smaller, much quieter, but in its own way, just as powerful. It's a story about a tiny bird, a single wilting flower, and the incredible ripple effect of one small act of kindness. Imagine a vast, sun-drenched field under the peak of a scorching summer day. The air is heavy and still, shimmering with heat. Everything seems to be holding its breath, waiting for a cool breeze that never comes. In this field, amidst a sea of green and gold, stood a single sunflower. But this wasn't a proud, vibrant sunflower reaching for the sky. This one was struggling. Its once bright yellow petals were curled and dry, its head bowed low, almost touching the parched earth. It looked defeated, whispering to the wind a sad, barely audible plea. "I'm so thirsty. I feel like I'm going to fade away completely." Hope for this flower was drying up just like the soil around its roots. Just then, a tiny bird, with feathers the color of the summer sky, was flying overhead. She was on her way to her nest, but something caught her eye. She saw the sunflower's despair. She could feel its silent surrender from high above. She circled lower, her small heart aching with a feeling she couldn't ignore. She saw the cracked earth, the drooping leaves, and the faded color. The flower wasn't just thirsty. It was losing its will to live. Most creatures would have flown past. It was just one flower in a massive field, and the effort to help seemed immense, perhaps even pointless. But this little bird, she was different. She didn't hesitate. She didn't weigh the pros and cons. She simply saw a life in need and knew she had to act. But what could a bird so small possibly do? She couldn't summon a rain cloud or dig a well. She had only her tiny beak and her determined spirit. And so, with a clear purpose, she changed her course. She flew away from the field, her wings beating with a newfound urgency. Her destination? A cool, clear river that snaked through the valley, a long, long way from the wilting flower. When she reached the river, she dipped her small beak into the sparkling water, filling it with just a single precious drop. Then she began the long flight back. It was a tiring journey. The wind pushed against her, and the sun beat down on her tiny body. But she kept the image of the sad sunflower in her mind. That single drop of water felt like the most important treasure in the world. She finally arrived back at the field, exhausted but resolute. She flew directly to the sunflower, hovered carefully over its drooping head, and gently released the drop of water. It landed on a dry petal, a tiny speck of moisture in a world of dust. It seemed like nothing, a single drop on a dying plant. But the bird wasn't discouraged. She immediately turned and flew back to the river, and she did it again, and again, and again. Back and forth she went, a tireless blue streak against the hot sky. Each trip was a monumental effort, each drop a tiny victory. Her journey became a rhythm. Fly to the river, carry the water, release the drop, and repeat. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and still she flew. Day turned into night, and under the gentle light of the moon, she continued her silent, devoted work. Days began to pass in this way. The little bird's entire world became this singular mission. Other animals in the field watched with curiosity. A wise old tortoise, who had seen many summers come and go, shook his head slowly. "What a foolish little bird," he mumbled. "She wastes her energy. She cannot fight the sun." A family of rabbits huddled nearby, whispering, "One drop at a time? She be working forever. That flower is already gone." They saw the effort, but they couldn't see the hope. They saw the impossibility of the task, not the power of the intention behind it. To them, the bird's persistence was just a peculiar, futile display. But the bird didn't hear their doubts, or if she did, she didn't let them stop her. She was driven by something deeper. She wasn't just delivering water. She was delivering a message that said, "You are not alone. You have not been forgotten. I see you. And I am here. With each drop, a tiny bit of life seemed to stir within the flower. It was almost imperceptible at first. A slight unfurling of a petal, a subtle shift in the angle of its stem. The flower was beginning to feel the consistent, gentle care. It wasn't the amount of water that was changing things. It was the constancy of it. It was the knowledge that someone cared enough to keep trying. Then, one morning, a miracle unfolded. As the first rays of dawn touched the field, the sunflower, which had been bowed for so long, began to lift its head. Slowly, creakily, it straightened its stem. Its petals, no longer dry and brittle, began to open, revealing a vibrant golden heart. It was transformed. It stood tall and proud, a radiant beacon of life in the morning sun. It wasn't just alive. It was thriving, more beautiful than ever before. The field, which had been a silent witness to its decline, now stood in awe of its rebirth. The little bird, perched on a nearby branch, watched with a heart full of joy. The sunflower turned its bright face towards her, and a voice, no longer a sad whisper but a clear, joyful song, filled the air. "Thank you, my dear friend," said the flower. "You gave me life when I had lost all hope. I had given up. I thought my time was over. But you never gave up on me." Its voice was filled with a gratitude so deep it seemed to resonate through the very soil. The little bird flew down and landed gently on one of the sunflower's large green leaves. She looked at the blooming flower, at the renewed life she had helped nurture. "It was my pleasure," she chirped softly. "You see, sometimes all it takes is a single drop of kindness to bring a whole garden back to life." Her words hung in the air, simple, profound, and true. She hadn't brought a flood. She had brought a single, consistent drop. It was her persistence, her unwavering belief in the possibility of renewal, that had made all the difference. This story, my friends, isn't just about a bird and a flower. It's about us. How many times do we see a wilting flower in our own lives? It might be a friend going through a tough time, a family member who feels lost, or even a stranger who just looks like they're carrying a heavy burden. We might feel like that little bird thinking, "What can I do? I'm just one person. My effort is just a single drop in an ocean of problems." But we forget the power of that single drop. A kind word, a listening ear. A simple text message that says, "I'm thinking of you." A small favor. These are our drops of water. They might seem insignificant on their own, but when delivered with sincerity and consistency, they can have a life-changing impact. They can be the very thing that helps someone lift their head again. They remind people that they are seen, that they matter, and that they are not alone in their struggle. Your small act of kindness could be the one thing that helps someone hold on, that gives them the strength to bloom again. So the next time you feel small and powerless, remember the little bird. Remember that you don't have to solve the whole world's problems, just find one wilting flower. Offer your one drop of kindness, and then, if you can, offer another. You have no idea what a beautiful garden you might help grow. Let's start a ripple effect of kindness, one drop at a time.